When you see someone driving a Bentley, you'll likely think, wow, they have a lot of money. But do you know who really has a lot of money? Someone who can afford to buy a Bentley brand new, drive it, enjoy it, and not worry at all about the depreciation. Because cars like this, Bentleys, Rolls-Royce, Aston Martin, Mercedes-Maybach, they depreciate, and oh boy, do they depreciate hard. So what if you have a good amount of money, but not that kind of money? What do? Well, you find a lightly used one couple years old and likely depreciated to a mere fraction of the original price. This here is a perfect example. It's a 2022 Bentley Continental Flying Spur that, when new, likely had an MSRP over $250,000, and now a couple years later does have 50,000 miles on it, but it is for sale for $125,000 at Platinum Motor Cars here in Birmingham, Michigan. So essentially a 50% off depreciated Bentley. And today we're going to spend some time with this Continental Flying Spur to see what it's like. Now, in terms of the powertrain, this specific one is rather interesting because it is the plug-in hybrid. Typically, when you think about Bentley, it's 12 cylinders with a W12 or the twin turbo V8, but this one here is the hybrid. So they went to Porsche and Audi and asked to use their twin turbo V6, the 2.9 liter twin turbo V6 from the previous generation Audi RS5 and the Porsche Panamera. So the twin turbo V6 on its own is around 400 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque. Then you add the hybrid system with the electric motor for a total system output of 536 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque, which is comparable to the twin turbo V8 of this generation. Now, when we do hybrid powertrains, plug-in hybrids, usually it's in the pursuit of fuel economy, efficiency, some all-electric driving range, and this does have usable EV mode. It's got a decent sized battery pack, 15 kilowatt hours, that the EPA said would do 21 miles of all-electric range, but in real-world testing, people were seeing more like 30 to 35 miles. So theoretically, you could plug it in overnight in your garage, go run your errands, go do whatever you need, and drive mostly in electric mode, the engine kicking on when you need to, and get really good fuel economy. But if you're buying a $250,000 Bentley, is fuel efficiency really one of your top priorities? Now, there are a couple downsides doing the hybrid powertrain. One of them is you no longer get the active anti-roll system. You also do not get rear steer compared to the internal combustion only V8 W12 Bentleys. It has to do with some of the packaging and things like that with the hybrid system. And the last downside is weight. It is a couple 100 pounds heavier because of the electric motor and battery system. But there are some upsides. Bentley said that at 50 miles an hour, it's 50% quieter than the twin turbo V8. And when you have a big luxury sedan, you are in the pursuit of silence, isolation, comfort, and with a hybrid system with the electric motor, you do get nice smooth torque delivery. So I'm very interested to see what this hybrid Bentley powertrain is like to drive. So let's get up close. I'll take you on a tour of the exterior, the interior. We'll check out some of the details, and then we'll go take a drive in this budget Bentley. Still $125,000. More budget friendly than when new Bentley. It looks like this one was originally gloss black underneath, but has had full car stealth paint protection film applied for that matte black finish. Now, when you order a Bentley brand new, you can do essentially any color that you want. The options are almost endless, so you'll see some pretty amazing colors and finishes. One of my other favorite aspects of modern Bentley designs are the headlights. They are just so cool, so intricate and mesmerizing to look at, this crystalline flower petal effect. The updated Continentals have evolved the headlight design a little bit. It's got this like tadpole look, but these are still one of my favorite headlights out there. Now, this one has been essentially fully murdered out. All the trim, the grills, everything has been blacked out. We've got the 22-inch black wheels, and of course the hood ornament, the Flying B. It does retract into the hood just like a Rolls-Royce Spirit of Ecstasy. Always a nice little touch on these really fancy vehicles. Along the side, we have more B motifs. So this little trim piece looks to be purely decorational. It doesn't seem to be an actual grille. And I think there should have been a hybrid badge right here, but it looks like it has been removed. There are a couple tiny little ways that you can tell that this is a plug-in hybrid. One of them is back here. You see a charge port door. Go ahead and open that. You see a J1772 regular charger there if you want to plug it into your garage. These things usually don't need fast charging because it's got a pretty small battery pack. And then the taillights look like they've been tinted but you got another B shape back there. You can tell it's a hybrid with the quad exhaust, the quad oval exhaust on either side too, but it's pretty subtle to know that it's a hybrid version. You can open the trunk by pressing the B there. You do lose a bit of trunk space back here because of the battery pack, but still got plenty of storage if you need more. Get yourself a Bentley Bentayga. Now, this generation of Continental is on a shared platform with the Porsche Panamera because the Volkswagen Group and their family has lots of different modular platforms, and that is a very, very good thing. I have driven older generations of the Continental, and dynamically they suffer. They understeer so bad because you have like an entire W12 hanging over the front axle. So being underpinned with a Panamera evolved platform here has some great benefits dynamically speaking. I've driven a couple different Bentley Continentals of this generation, and they definitely are much nicer to drive. You also get a evolution of the Porsche PDK, if I recall correctly. Now, there's also 3 different body styles essentially. You have the Bentley Continental GT and the convertible. So the 2-door coupe, the convertible, and then the Flying Spur is the 4-door sedan. In the past, Bentley used to have the Mulsanne, a even step higher, bigger, more imposing, more expensive, really a Rolls-Royce Phantom competitor, but now this is their flagship 4-door sedan, the Continental Flying Spur. Quick peek at the inside before we go for a drive. So lots of nice quilted leather. I love the diamond pattern here on the seats with the embroidered Bentley logo there. And then we've got this pattern on the door, which is really cool. It's this 3-dimensional diamond effect. That's awesome. This one here, just black on black interior, but lots of nice details. You notice a Bentley B on the brake pedal, and then there is a hybrid plaque right here on your doorsill, but then the illuminated Bentley lettering. We have a Bang & Olufsen sound system. You can upgrade to the name sound system. That is the top end one for Bentleys. This one does not have an option, but lots of nice bright work. The newer Bentley steering wheel, which does have some Audi-looking controls. You'll see some shared platform stuff on the inside, but to me, that just means it works better than, you know, when you look at like an older Aston Martin, you're like, what is this infotainment? It's an insult to even call it infotainment. It's so terrible. But this system here should just work nicely. Talk about that a bit more when we're driving. You notice the dash clock, always very nice. Now the second row, this one is the regular configuration. You can do a fancier 4-seat configuration, a bit more of that executive experience here, but we fold down the center console here, a little bit of storage, cup holders. You need 5 seats that will fold up, but even back here we've got nice quilting on the seats, the pillow, Bentley logo. You get a moonroof up there. Go ahead and hop in. Although technically I should be sitting there. That's the chauffeur VIP seat. So you can move this all the way out of the way for maximum legroom and comfort. Fold down mirror if you need to get ready. And then you do have a whole bank of controls back here. And also, that's all leather. Leather headliner. I would argue that's a step up from suede headliner. Everything is covered in leather. You have your seat controls back here, so they will recline. There is memory, and then look at the details on those speaker grills, and then that massive panel of that really cool diamond pattern on the door insert that stretches back there. So yeah, even without the fancy 4-seat executive package back here, it's still pretty nice. Well, obviously it's a Bentley. All right, let's go for a drive. All right, we are on the road in the Continental Flying Spur Hybrid. Initial impressions is this thing feels solid. There's just so much substance to these kinds of vehicles. You feel like you have the presence, and that in itself makes it feel expensive. Now, as a hybrid, we actually have a lot of different things to play around with, namely the hybrid mode. So I've currently put it into hold. We're pretty low on charge because this thing has not been plugged in and charged up, so it's showing just 1 mile of range. But the powertrain and driving around should charge it up. Hold just maintains the hybrid battery level. If you have enough, you can do pure electric drive, but right there leaving, it started off in electric mode and then the engine kicked on. Fairly smooth. That was a very gentle application of throttle. There's also hybrid mode, which is usually just like an automatic blend between the two. And then we also have our drive mode. So we're currently in, there's a Bentley mode. You toggle the start stop button right here, the outer ring. There's a sport. Let me see what comfort feels like. Does the air suspension get even more comfortable? I assume Bentley mode is like a balance of it. Sometimes they have a mode like Maybach mode, for example, is to prioritize the comfort of your second row chauffeured VIP passengers. Comfort and Bentley on this road right now feel fairly similar to me. Now, you see how I mentioned the fact that we do not have the active anti-roll bars and do not have rear steer. If I had to pick between those two, I think the rear steer is the biggest loss, because four-wheel steering can make these long wheelbase, just massive vehicles so much more maneuverable. It works on everything up to a Hummer EV, the absolute monster of an SUV or pickup truck, right? Rear steer makes those things actually have really good turning radiuses, and in these big executive luxury sedans like Mercedes S-Classes and up, rear steer can make a big difference. So that is a little bit of a shame that you lose that. The active anti-roll bars are the 48-volt system that's essentially trying to help you keep the vehicle level. So when you go into a turn, right, it just like resists that and holds you as flat as possible, again, for control and comfort. So you lose out on those two things when you go for the hybrid system. Oh, regen. Wait a second. I think regen braking moves the brake pedal. I feel the brake pedal moving when I let off. I do not like that. There's a couple other EVs and hybrids I know that do that. That's kind of funky. So I don't love the brake pedal modulation already. In terms of everything else, is it delivering a Bentley experience? Yeah, it's pretty quiet. It's funny. I remember once I was at an auto show when I was younger, and we hopped in a Mercedes S-Class that just had somebody like scream on the top of their lungs, and like you couldn't hear anything. That's how insulated and isolated you are from the rest of the world. All right, let's give it some beans. So very, very smooth delivery. That V6 does intrude a little bit, and when you do go full throttle, it does feel a little bit more coarse. Whoa. Look at the spec on that. That's green. Oh, that's beautiful. Bye-bye. So it's definitely quick. That is without a doubt. Pretty quick shifts. Man, oh, it is holding the gears. Third gear. Second gear. All right, yeah, that PDK is definitely pretty snappy. But we're doing very un-Bentley-like activities. How do I go back into just regular drive? There we go. So not as smooth and silky as the V8s, and definitely not as silky as the W12. 12 cylinders are they're just so nice. You just ride this wave of torque, whether it's a Rolls-Royce V12, the Mercedes V12, or the W12, which has sadly departed now from Bentley. But when you're just cruising, this is totally fine. Engine's off right now. I do notice a lot of engine on off, but it's relatively imperceptible. It's not jolting the whole car. That would be very, very un-Bentley-like. But we have also exhausted our electric mode, so we're down to 0 miles. I wish I could spend a week with this thing, plug it in and see what kind of usable electric range, but I saw tests when this thing was new. People were getting in that 30 to 35 miles, which honestly, for a lot of people's commutes, that's more than enough, right? You drive 20 miles to work, plug it in, and then drive home in electric mode. But that's like a use case for so many mainstream cars, your regular commuter cars. You buy a Toyota RAV4, you want to be able to do that. If you're shopping for a Bentley Continental Flying Spur, like I said, is fuel economy and the cost of fuel your biggest priority? That's where I feel like hybridization for the pursuit of power works at vehicles of this level. When it's just that crazy torque number and that overall performance figure, it gives you more things you can do with a hybrid system. That makes sense. All new Bentleys now, well, I know the Continental for sure, is a V8 plug-in hybrid system, but it's a V8, it's a twin turbo V8 with a hybrid system, and it's apparently stupendous. I haven't driven one yet. This one here with the V6, it's like they were just initially dabbling into the world of hybrids, because I think the Bentayga came first and then this. So looking at this as a lens of a half-price depreciated Bentley, what are the pros and cons? Well, 125 grand, you're getting quite a lot of car for the money. We've got very, very nice materials across this entire interior. This is a nice smooth road, right? But I'm just wafting along and it is silent. The isolation is fantastic. A step up from an A8 or an S-Class or a 7 Series. And then the details are done very, very nicely. Like everything is metal and it feels cold to the touch. Like these air vents are so solid, and that's like freezing cold. You get so many touch buttons, controls, which is very, very nice too. Although there are a lot of them and they are all glossy black, which don't absolutely love that. Engine just kicked on right there. Other ownership perspective things, potential ownership perspective things, cost. Whenever we're driving one of these depreciated bargain deals where you're half off, you're 75% depreciated, there's a reason they drop in price so much, and you need to make sure you have money set aside in case something goes wrong. So you might be buying this for $125,000, but it still has the part costs, the maintenance costs, the overall ownership cost of a significantly more expensive car, $250,000 car. So like, if you need to do service on a water pump or whatever, air suspension, anything, right? There's so many complex systems in a car like this, it's gonna cost you a lot of money. So definitely set aside a good amount of cash. I say like, when it's like a Audi S8 or a BMW 7 Series or an Audi RS7, maybe 5 to 10,000 minimum. With something like this, you might want to have a little bit more, 10 to 15 grand. If you can find a certified pre-owned one, I'm willing to bet it'll probably pay for itself over your ownership, and especially once you're at the 50,000 mile mark. This one has been driven. I respect that, because a lot of times cars at this level, they get driven 3 to 4 to maybe 5,000 miles a year. They are very occasional use vehicles. Owners typically have, actually I'm gonna go right, typically own a lot of different vehicles. This is where rear steer would be great, but that was fine. A lot of different vehicles, so not putting a ton of miles on a single one, but this one here, I mean, it's 4 years old, 22 model year, 4 to 5 years old, 50,000 miles. It was actually being used as a daily driver, but that also means we're probably halfway through the battery warranty, the hybrid system, and when you go to a plug-in hybrid, that is an added layer of complexity where you're gonna wanna plan for that. Look into extended warranties, but I mean, you still have a good amount left. But otherwise, this is a fairly interesting choice. If I had to pick for one to own, would I buy the hybrid one? Probably not. Genuine honesty, I would probably go for a V8 or a W12, likely the V8. I actually really like the V8 in these. Having driven the W12, it is silky smooth and a wave of torque, but the V8 is definitely more than plenty, and I love the way it sounds in these cars here. So this hybrid one, if it's a good deal, if it's a genuine good deal, then I would entertain it. But if you're also just doing short commutes and you don't care, and you maybe do want some better fuel economy, and you want to buy a Bentley and you want to not have to spend a fortune on gas, then this could be a rather interesting choice. Dynamically speaking, the air suspension is still pretty good. It still rides well. It's still quiet. We still have all the luxury features, massage seats, heated, cooled seats, nice sound system, and then it ends up being spec dependent. That's the other thing when you're buying these cars used, your window of options expands. You got to look for one that has the right options you want. You could do the rotating screen. I wish this one had an option. I don't know why everybody didn't check that box. It's like, I mean, it was a couple $1,000s, but Bentley had the option where you could have the screen rotate to show like 3 analog dials, and then it could rotate again as a triangle, and it would just be flush. Hides everything away, because what dates an interior? The infotainment, the screens, technology, and they knew, well, wood trim, matching trim across your interior is always going to be nice and classy. So that was a really cool option. You could have the executive second row seats, you could do the name sound system. There were a lot more fancier options you could go for, but then the prices would start creeping up and so forth. Yeah, I would say the feel and the engine note of that twin turbo V6 does make this feel a little less classy. It's just a harsher sound and feeling. In an Audi RS5 and a Porsche Panamera are totally fine. Those things are less than half the price of these. But here, I mean, the power delivery is fine, solid torque. It just, I don't know, it's letting me down a little bit. Cars of this level need to have 8 and 12 cylinders, in my opinion. That being said, we are still in a 50% off depreciated Bentley, and it is still the full Bentley experience in terms of the presence, the look. When you pull up in traffic or to the valet, to dinner, whatever, they're gonna be like, oh, Bentley Continental Flying Spur, respect, because it has the imposing look. The details that indicate it's a hybrid are rather subtle, and if you don't know what you're looking for, you're not driving, you don't see the badge, most people are not going to know. They're going to see this big baller Bentley sedan and be like, okay, that is pretty badass. This makes me excited to try the new generation Bentley Continentals with the V8 hybrid system, because I heard those things are ballistically fast. So you get all the nice benefits of a hybrid system, the torque and maybe some efficiency with the EV driving range, but then you have a twin turbo V8 under the hood, not a twin turbo V6. Other things, I mean, the interior still feels very, very nice. The materials are holding up nicely. Leather, little bits of wear and tear here and there as expected for a 50,000 mile vehicle, but very solid. The infotainment works very well. Graphics are nice, easy to use. Pretty sure it's probably an Audi MMI system reskin underneath, which means it works. Rolls-Royce has a reskinned BMW system iDrive, which means it works. So no complaints there. And it's got some bespoke touches on top, the graphics, the visuals, and then the Bentley dash clock. That's always nice. Dash clocks, I'm very sad that some of the OEMs are moving away from dash clocks. Like Mercedes, it's like a virtual thing. It's like an IWC in your big screen. I'm like, that's not anywhere close to the same thing, right? I want my IWC dash clock there. It's a classy touch. And again, touch points, materials, fantastic. So quiet, so nice. Would I buy one of these for $125,000, or would I go buy a brand new Audi S8, for example? That's where, ooh, because you got to think about how much you're going to lose. This is already depreciated from, call it $250,000 down to 125 grand. So over the next 2 to 3 years, it may drop to 80 grand. You'll lose another $45,000. If you go buy a brand new S-Class or an Audi S8 or something like that, a 7 Series for $125,000 to $140,000, that is going to drop to $50,000 in the next 3 years. So you got to look at how much you're willing to lose. Set aside money for maintenance and service, right? This will be very, very expensive. You buy one of those cars new, usually they have included maintenance. So there is a cost to be the boss, right? To drive one of these things and be baller. But I still feel extremely important, even though I am not important whatsoever driving around in this thing. I would love to be chauffeured in one of these. And then you just see there the Bentley Flying Wings logo, and then the hood ornament up there. It is actually kind of hard to see because the way the hood like kind of falls away in front of you, I just see the bare tip top of the wings. Whereas the Rolls-Royces, the hood is so much more flat, you can really see the Spirit of Ecstasy in front of you. Continental Flying Spur, Rolls-Royce Ghost, S63 AMG, S680 Maybach. There are a lot of options when you're looking at a depreciated option here, but this was cool getting to spend a bit of time with a 50% off discounted Bentley Continental Flying Spur Hybrid. If you want to buy this specific car, it is available at Platinum Motor Cars in Birmingham, Michigan. It's a pretty cool spec, black on black. Full body paint protection film already with the XPEL Stealth, I assume XPEL, but Stealth paint protection film. I hope you guys enjoyed this review of this Bentley Continental Flying Spur Hybrid. This thing would be fantastic on a road trip, just inhaling the miles, wafting along. Really interesting with the hybrid system, and for $125,000, a budget Bentley. Thanks again to Platinum Motor Cars for making this video possible. Check out their inventory. They always have something interesting. Thanks for watching.